He could have gotten a better price in the market. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that's riba. Why? The Americans have a beautiful expression for this transaction. What is it? You ripped him off. You ripped him off. A transaction based on deception, through which you get a profit that you are not entitled justly to get. That is also riba, said the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Of all the rip-offs that have ever occurred since Adam alayhi salam set foot on earth, the biggest rip-off of all is the one that is occurring in our miserable lifetime, while our scholars are eating halwa. You're going to have to forgive me tonight if my language is a little bit harsh, because I think the language up there is going to be 1,000 times harsher. 1,000 times harsher. I think that Allah's anger must be red hot, boiling hot with this ummah. So you're going to have to forgive me tonight if my language is a little bit harsh. He said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, I leave behind me two things. So long as you hold on to them, you will never go astray. The Book of Allah and my Sunnah. The Book of Allah and my Sunnah. And his Sunnah is not only the bed. It's a nice Sunnah, isn't it? His Sunnah is also money. Money. Money is also his Sunnah. What kind of money did he use? Do you know the hadith? He said, it's a very famous hadith in Sahih Bukhari. It is seldom properly understood. He said, gold for gold, silver for silver, wheat for wheat, barley for barley, dates for dates, salt for salt. Like for like, if it's gold on this side and gold on this side, like for like must be equal for equal. If it's dates on this side and dates on this side, like for like must be equal for equal. Other than that, it's riba. What is common to all the 6 things mentioned in this hadith? You will not find this analysis in Abdullah Yusuf Ali, I'm afraid. A British technocrat, that's what he was. What is common to all 6 things mentioned in this hadith? Gold, silver, wheat, barley, dates, salt. Is that they were all used at some time or the other as money. If gold and silver was scarce in the market in Medina, they could use dates as money. So they were all used at some time or the other as money. The second thing which is common to all 6 is that the value of the money is in the money. They all have intrinsic value. Intrinsic value. The value of the money is in the money. If there's a transaction involving, what is this noise we can hear? The wall.
Nothing, Ranjan.
Tell the wall, stop making noise, please. Yeah. If it is gold on this side and gold on that side, the same money, then like for like must be equal for equal. Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu came to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam with a basket of dates, and he offered him some dates, and they were very high quality dates. Bilal, he said, these are very high quality dates. Where did you get them? Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu replied, he said, O Messenger of Allah, I had two baskets of inferior quality dates, and I exchanged them for this one basket of superior quality dates. Bilal, he said, this is the essence of riba. What you should have done was to sell your two baskets of inferior quality dates and take that money and buy the one basket of superior quality dates. Why was it riba? Because dates were used as money. So if you have dates on this side and dates on that side, there must be an equal exchange. But Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, if you know the answer, put your hand up. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he exchanged one camel for 4 camels. Bilal exchanged one basket for 2 baskets. He exchanged one camel for 4 camels. And Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu exchanged one camel for 20 camels. And it was not riba. Why not?
It was not included in the 6. Camels are expensive.
Because camels or animals could never be used as money, correct? I work for the month and you give me my salary, a goat, taking the goat home. When I reach home, my wife asks, where's your salary? I said, it died on the road. Or the boss gives me my salary, and the next day I go back to the boss, I say, boss, problem with the salary, salary has fallen ill. He said, but when I give you your salary, it was healthy. So animals cannot be used as money. Because animals were not used as money, you could exchange one camel, an adult she-camel, pregnant, for 20 baby camels. All right. This is money in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. This is money which is sunnah money. One day, Europe was attacked from inside, and a Europe which had become Christian suddenly lost its Christianity. While Europe was Christian for those centuries, Christian Europe fought a ferocious battle against riba. Yeah, Christian Europe against riba. In fact, one of the best books on riba ever written was written by a British sheikh. What was his name? Shakespeare, correct. William Shakespeare. Which book? Which book? Merchant of Venice. Merchant of Venice. I will not have the time in this lecture, otherwise you'll have to give me 3 hours, to explain to you the brilliance of William Shakespeare in Merchant of Venice. But you'll get it, that analysis is there in my big book on riba. In Merchant of Venice, you will see Christian Europe in its attempt to ensure the prohibition of riba. There is another book, not as famous as William Shakespeare's, but this one is also a classic. Take a note of it, you might want to search for it in the library. The name of the book is Religion and the Rise of Capitalism. I would make this compulsory reading in Darul Uloom. Oh yes. Religion and the Rise of Capitalism by an author whose name is R.W. Tawney, T-A-W-N-E-Y. And in this book, Tawney records the Christian struggle against riba in Europe. But when the French Revolution occurred, the back of the Christian church was broken in Western Europe. And when was it broken in Eastern Europe? Which revolution? Bolshevik Revolution. How come we're only getting the answers from this corner? The Bolshevik Revolution broke the back of the Christian church in Eastern Europe, in Russia. When once the back of the Christian church was broken in Europe, the Jews were delighted. The Jews were delighted. Because the Christians had been waging a terrific war against the Jews for centuries in Europe. We will not allow you to lend money on interest. And the Jews always wanted to lend money on interest. Why? Because they had changed the Torah. I think I explained this to you. They rewrote the Torah. The Torah that had come down from Allah had prohibited riba. But they changed it, and the Torah now says, in as many words, that it is haram for a Jew to lend money on interest to another Jew. But it is halal, he can lend on interest to those who are not Jews. Go and check it out. Go and check it out in Deuteronomy, in Leviticus. Go and check it out. I have all of these quotations in my book for you. So they are the money lenders. They changed the word of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to this in the Quran and points out that they had in effect changed the Torah. Where did he do that? Suratun? Which surah? Suratun Nisa. The language, as I said, was very powerful language. فَبِظُلْمٍ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ هَادُوا حَرَّمْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ طَيِّبَاتٍ أُحِلَّتْ لَهُمْ. In that ayah, he says, وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَا وَقَدْ نُهُوا عَنْهُ. They were taking riba despite the fact that they had been prohibited from doing so. So this is how we know that they changed the Torah. Now, with the French Revolution, an economy based on riba emerges in Europe for the first time. And then with the Bolshevik Revolution in Eastern Europe, the possibility for Eastern Europe to be embraced by riba is also now open. But the banks in Europe, they don't just lend money on interest. The European economy not only produces this curious creature called a bank, the bank does something more than lending money on interest. What the bank does, and this began in France with an Englishman, what the bank does is to start issuing paper as money. Paper as money. And then when government saw that the banks were getting rich issuing paper as money, then the governments took over the paper. Then Europe sent her armies, and European armies shamelessly, at the point of a sword. Those who say Islam was spread at the point of the sword, they're the ones who went with the point of the sword and conquered the rest of the non-European world. And so a white world order emerges at the point of the sword, in which Europe now rules the world. When Europe took over the rest of the world, one of the most important things that Europe wanted to do was to dismantle the system of real money and replace it with paper money. And they achieved it because the scholars of Islam were eating halwa. Europe would not decolonize and hand over Egypt to Muhammad Naguib and Jamal Abdel Nasser for the drums to be beaten, we are independent, and would not hand over Indonesia to a fellow named Ahmad Sukarno so the Indonesians can jump for joy, we are independent now. And they would not hand over Malaysia to a fellow named Tunku Abdul Rahman, and they would not hand over Pakistan to another fellow named Muhammad Ali Jinnah, etc., 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 etc. And all the natives start dancing, drum beating. We have something called independence. While Europe is laughing its head behind the wall. Look at them, blind like bats. Europe would not decolonize until Europe was ensured that a new financial system was in place in which real money was now replaced by paper money. At the beginning, when paper money was introduced, it was redeemable for gold. What does redeemable mean? Yes, exchange. In the United States of America, until the 1920s, you could take 20 US dollars in notes, paper, and go to any bank, and you can ask for 1 ounce of gold, and you'll get it. If a man wants to cut your throat, he won't be so silly as to show you the sword, the knife. He has to hide the knife first, all right? Get you to come close. So, when paper money was introduced, it was redeemable in gold. And the banks that issued the paper money and the governments that issued the paper money, they gave their word that this is the value of the paper. And they even print on the paper, guess what they printed? In God we trust. Let me show you. Here is a US dollar note, and you can come and see it with your own eyes if you want. It says, in God we trust. In other words, when we give our word to you that 20 American dollars is equivalent to 1 ounce of gold, our word is as good and as solid as the word of God himself. But in 1933, something strange happened that should have caused our ulama to stop eating halwa. Uncle Sam was broke. So guess what Uncle Sam did? Uncle Sam was broke. So guess what Uncle Sam did? In April 1933, Uncle Sam enacted legislation prohibiting all Americans from keeping gold. You have to return any gold that you have, not jewelry. Jewelry you can keep. Any gold that you have as coins or as bullion to Uncle Sam, and he will give you paper. And you have to trust in God that Uncle Sam's word is as good as the word of God. So all of America gave their gold to Uncle Sam, meaning the US government. If they caught you with gold after a certain date, then you could be fined 10,000 US dollars and spend 6 months as a guest of Uncle Sam in one of his prisons. So all of America went and gave their gold and took the paper. After Uncle Sam had collected all the gold, guess what he did? He gave his word, but he changed his word. This is called values. These are the people who today rule the world. They gave the word, And they broke their word. Uncle Sam changed the price of gold from $20 an ounce of gold to $35 an ounce of gold. Huh? The American people woke up that morning and said, our own government ripped us off. Yes, it was your own government that ripped you off. And then Uncle Sam made it known, you better come back and buy your gold quick before I change the price again. So the American people had to go and buy back their gold from Uncle Sam at $35 an ounce. And in the process, Uncle Sam ripped off the American people of almost half of their wealth. The Prophet said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, this transaction is one based on deception, through which you get a profit to which you are not entitled. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam described this as riba. Why did this happen? Because the difference between real money and paper money, money which is sunnah and paper money, is that money which is sunnah is money in which the value of the money is in the money. Someone should teach that to the Saudis. Go teach it to the Saudis who want to teach Islam to all the rest of the world. Go teach it to the Saudis. The value of the money is in the money. The definition of the paper money is that the value of the money is no longer in the money. And so the value can be changed. Every time the value is changed, the value goes down. What happens when the value of money goes down? The first thing is that there is a massive transfer of wealth from the masses to that predatory elite, which in this case was the government, Uncle Sam. The masses lost half of their wealth, almost half. That's the first thing that happens when the value of the paper money goes down. What's the second thing that happens? The answer is this. I worked for the whole month. I got my salary in gold. Could buy a camel. Took it home. Put it underneath the pillow. Took it out after 5 years, you could still buy the camel. 10 years, you could still buy the camel. But when I get my salary in paper now, I could buy a camel, take it home, put it underneath the pillow. A few years later, when I take it out, can't buy a camel anymore. Could only buy a jackass now. So now I am beginning to feel like a jackass because someone has ripped me off. Where did my money go? If you could answer that question, where did your money go? Who took your money? And how did they take your money? You would understand the game that they're playing. We used to have men like that. In North America, we had one Islamic scholar who was like that, and then they killed him. A man named Malcolm X. He didn't have a PhD from Al-Azhar, but he could see better than any sheikh. Who took my money? And how did they take him? Did they take it?
They had riba in their blood.
They had riba in their blood.
They used a blanket when Shaitan was in their blanket.
Alright, you come close by me here. MashaAllah, he's a brave boy, yeah? Sit down. I make a dua that one day you will also sit here on the chair. And you'll also give the lecture, inshallah. A few years later, I take the money out of my pillow. Can't buy a jackass anymore. Can only buy a goat. A few years later, can't buy a goat anymore. Can only buy murgi. Dajaja. Chicken. I mean, you got to eat a lot of halwa not to be able to see that this is haram. But the distinguished muftis of Islam still have to declare that this paper money is haram. The rip-off has taken place. The thieves have looted everything. Our people are now in miserable poverty, destitution, imprisoned in that poverty. كَادَ الْفَقْرُ أَنْ يَكُونَ كُفْرًا, said the Prophet ﷺ, that this poverty and destitution can lead a people to kufr, and that is what is happening in many parts of the world. But the mufti still cannot see that this is haram. You will not get a fatwa from the mufti that this is haram, much less to get a fatwa from the mufti that this is riba. How is it taking place? They started with gold, paper being redeemable in gold. And then came 1933, when we should have woken up to see the game, but we didn't wake up. So in 1944, at the end of the Second World War, they now consolidated the system in the creation of an international monetary system now. Consolidated. The new international monetary system emerges out of the Bretton Woods Agreement in upstate New York. Every Darul Uloom should make it obligatory for the student to study the Bretton Woods Accord. You must study the Bretton Woods Accord to understand monetary economics today, so you can understand the subject of riba. Is it taught in the Darul Uloom? No, it's not. At Bretton Woods, what did they do? They said, no longer will paper be redeemable in gold. Only one paper will be chosen to be redeemable in gold. All the rest will not. The one paper which was chosen was the US dollar. So the US dollar will be redeemable in gold, but not sterling pound, and not Pakistani rupee, and not Indonesian rupiah, not Australian dollar. No, only one. So this is a major blow to the integrity of money. The second thing that they did was to declare that the only people who could come to Uncle Sam to redeem their paper for gold are governments. You and I can't do it. Only governments, only central banks. So now the entire system has lost 99% of its integrity. It has only 1% left of integrity, but those fellows are still eating halwa. 1% integrity left. That governments, central banks can go to Uncle Sam with their US dollars and demand the gold. Nobody did. From 1944 to 1971, nobody did. The Vietnam War took place in the late 60s, and Uncle Sam printed a lot of paper to finance the war. And Uncle Sam didn't have the gold to back that paper. At Bretton Woods, they had fixed the price of gold at $35 an ounce. Fixed. It is there in the Bretton Woods Accord. Uncle Sam didn't have the gold to back all that paper. So in September 1971, the British government came in one Friday evening perhaps with $3 billion and said, Uncle Sam, we want the gold. Uncle Sam knew that the game was up. The game was up. Because come Monday morning, guess who is going to be at the front of the line? Saudi Arabia. Or who behind Saudi Arabia? Kuwait. Huh? And a whole long line of people, of government,